Live and local, this is Good Morning PD on Live 95.
Welcome back to Good Morning PD Live 95. Takes Mondays to make Fridays thanks to our good friends at PD Electric Co-op, thanks to our good friends at Pepsi-Cola, and thanks to our good friends at Chick-fil-A. Do want to remind you, we talked about the ERC loan program a second ago. H2O Select is a program that PD Electric has, provides rebates of up to $250 for installing new high-efficiency electric water heaters in existing homes or new construction. When you purchase a water heater that meets qualifying installation requirements, PD Electric will install a peak saving switch at no cost to you. Jesse Cartrette, candidate for Florence County Probate Judge, is with us. Good morning, Jesse.
Good morning.
Hope you're doing well.
Thank you, sir.
I feel like I've been with you for the last couple of weeks because you've had your ads running on our station.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it very much. We were talking during the break. Rev and I believe, I may be wrong. I'm wrong a lot. I'm confident in my being wrong, but I'm wrong a lot. I believe if you're a political candidate in the Republican Party and you're looking to target Republican voters, there's not a better place to go than talk radio. I think most liberals would probably agree with that. It's you're micro-targeting. I've told you before, when I ran for lieutenant governor and you wanted to advertise on Sunday morning, like on Meet the Press or Stephanopoulos, well, he's 10 o'clock, but some of the 9 o'clock shows, Meet the Press and Chris Wallace, I think is the other Fox show, you did it in the first break because by the second break, the Republicans had gone to church. I mean, there's always a strategy there. And Jesse's learning that as we speak. He's been around politics a long time, so he already knew some of this. Jesse, what are you finding out is different from being involved in politics and being a candidate for elected office?
Well, one of the things that's different, when your name is on that ballot, it just puts things in a whole different perspective. I mean, you can have passion for a candidate, but when you are the candidate, you have to take that to an nth degree.
Your name's on the sign, brother.
And it's so much more drive that you've got to put into it because you're asking people to vote for you. You're not just asking them to vote for somebody else.
Why should somebody vote for Jesse Cartrette?
Someone should vote for Jesse Cartrette because they want someone with experience. They want someone who's handled every aspect of probate court. They want someone from Florence County who knows Florence County, who's loved and worked with the people of Florence County, and who has a passion to make Florence County better, to make our probate court better, and to make our probate court responsive to the needs of the citizens of Florence County.
Jesse, having said that, are there certain things you want to do differently, or are there certain new things you want to implement? Every candidate has to come up with a platform. You do. I did. We all, and it's not a slide against the other people you're running against. It's just things you consider to be important.
Absolutely. Well, and not to make anything really different from what we have now. We've got a great probate court, but I would like to try to shape our probate court. Every judge has their own unique personality, their own way of handling the job. And so as a probate judge, I want to make our court responsive to the needs of the public. I want to make it accessible to the public in a way that we haven't seen in a while. When we had Judge Eaton and Judge Stone, we had a court that, folks could come in, they could ask for the judge. If the judge was there, they could see the judge. We've got this beautiful new courthouse they built, and I'm certainly not complaining, but they built this glass wall there that you kind of don't feel like you can access the judge anymore because there's this glass wall. Now, that's not Judge Scott's fault in any way. We've got a great judge in Judge Scott. He's a wonderful probate court judge. But what I'd like to do is come from behind that wall and have folks see me there like they could see Judge Eaton in the old days when he was there. He was not behind his office walls very much, and folks could come in and shake his hand and talk to him. I want folks to have that same accessibility to me. I want them to know that they have a servant-led court, that we are responsive to their needs. We're elected by them. We get our authority from them, and we certainly are going to be always responsive to their needs.
Jesse,
Also,
do the majority of people know what a probate court judge does?
I don't think a lot of folks
until you do.
Until you need one, you really don't know what it does.
Explain to our listeners if you don't mind.
Okay. Well, probate court, most folks realize that probate court does handle estates and that probate court issues marriage licenses. But many of the other things that probate court does, I'll just go through the list.
Sure.
We handle guardianships and conservatorship actions. Those are actions where folks have lost the capacity to take care of their own finances or their own physical well-being. And when I say they've lost the capacity, they're suffering from a memory care issue like Alzheimer's or dementia. They've reached a point where their loved ones and their caregivers have got to petition the court to ask for the authority to do those things for them that they otherwise would normally be able to do for themselves, but they can no longer do it anymore. Someone has to investigate those claims. For 7 years now of my 10-year practice, I've been doing the lion's share of those investigations in Florence County and the surrounding counties to determine who those parties ought to be for these folks. I've advocated for these folks before these probate courts and judges, and I've got the experience that it takes to be able to make those determinations when we get there as probate judge as what would serve these folks' best interests when someone comes before the court saying, I want to be their guardian or I want to be their conservator. What the job of a guardian and conservator is to make sure that the person who needs a guardian or conservator, their funds are not squandered, that they get the care they need, they're not abused, they're not taken advantage of. And it's a very serious fiduciary duty. We've got to look into those matters and make sure that that's taken care of. Probate court is the court charged with making sure that happens. Probate court also handles mental health commitments. Mental health commitments is twofold. There's actual mental health commitments, and then there's drug commitments through PD Mental Health. PD Mental Health is the vehicle that gets you there usually. Now, you've got in your household, typically, a family member will contact the court or contact PD Mental Health and say, we need to petition to have this person evaluated because we've noticed that there's a change in their behavior that has caused, a disruption in our family. We need to make sure they're evaluated, get them the treatment that they need, and the court will make sure that that happens if it's necessary. The court also is supposed to make sure that that process is not abused in any way or used to malign someone improperly. We live in a world where people can abuse that process and can misuse it. So that's why we have the court there to make sure that happens.
Jesse, very serious issues, but you're running for office.
I am.
How have you balanced these because once again, I hate to say politics is fun and game, but some people run for offices that don't deal with the sort of serious issues. I ran for an office that didn't deal with those sorts of serious issues. How have you been able to balance the job you're running for, but you are, in essence, a politician?
Yes, I understand that.
And that's always, it is in a job like that. And that's why we have this great debate of should we elect or not, or appoint. But you're having to run a campaign and convince people to vote for you for a very serious position that doesn't need to be political.
I agree. We had this conversation the last time I visited with you, I believe. And one of the things that I said then, and I agree with still, we do have to run for the position in a political arena. It's unfortunate that we have to do it this way. The legislature has taken every other judgeship off the table as far as running publicly, but they've put it to the public still that we have to run for probate court judge. That's also the beauty of running for probate court judge is that the public gets to decide it and not the legislature. So it cuts both ways. The public gets to decide who's going to be that servant leader, who's going to be that judge, and who's going to get their trust to do this job. I want their vote. I want their trust. And I certainly want them to know that it will be well placed with Jesse Cartrette. About the politics aspect of it, it is political in that you have to run for it. But once you're elected, you have to shed the political aspect of it because you have been placed in a position of high trust. You've got to cast aside any political bent, if you will, if you ever had one in getting the job, because you've got to serve an entire county of people and their needs.
Republicans, Democrats, conservatives, liberals, or moderates.
Absolutely, regardless
Jesse,
of their party.
My last question is not a question. We're less than 2 weeks away from the election. I'll give you a chance to kind of plead your case and ask people to support you come not this coming Tuesday, but the following.
Okay. Well, I was born and raised here in Florence County. This is my home. I've worked here for 10 years as a lawyer. I've got the experience in probate court, handling the cases that probate court is specifically designed to address. I've got a good rapport with the probate court and their staff. I've certainly worked with them in great amount of detail for years now, and it's just been a blessing and an honor in every regard every time I've ever been called upon to do so. Of course, would love to have their vote on June 12th in the Republican primary, and I certainly hope to have yours as well, Kent.
Okay. Thank you, Jesse.
Thank you.
Good to see you. And I'll go on the record. We're not allowed to endorse people on this show. They take my paycheck from me if I do something crazy like that. But I've always offered opinions on what I think of candidates. And when I think of the job, and I don't know anywhere as much about the job, Journey going to be here in a minute. He knows that job because he deals with them being an aggravating lawyer. But I know Jesse is a longtime friend and someone who has been intimately involved in the Republican Party and values that I think need to be instilled in that office. I couldn't tell you who the probate court judge is right now. I do know when my father passed away and my mother passed away, we had some issues. They did a wonderful job in helping us navigate those troubled waters, if you will. And then once again, we're not allowed to endorse, but having known Jesse for a long time, I tell our listeners, and I mean this sincerely, Jesse Cartrette would make a real good probate court judge. I'm sure of that. A real good probate court judge. Thank you, my friend.
I sure do appreciate that. And can I also add, we do see people at their very lowest in probate court. They've lost a loved one, or they've got a situation where someone in their family is going to need a mental health commitment, or they're going to need a guardian and conservator appointed. And it requires someone who's got a great deal of compassion.
It does. Who
also understands the law that applies to their case and who can handle their case competently and is going to ensure that the staff handles that case competently. I will do that as probate judge.
And I believe every word you just said. I honestly do. Take a break. Back in a minute. Good Morning PD, Live 95. Thanks to PD Electric Co-op. Thanks to Pepsi Cola. Thanks to Chick-fil-A. A trifecta of sponsors and supporters this morning on this never-ending feeble attempt at Radio Brilliance. Back in a minute.